Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So in the last draw we ended up by creating a database where we were able to insert some data and query the database through the terminal, right? Just a simple query. So if you want to learn more about the queries of SQLite, they're just very enormous. You can just Google it online and then you can study more from there. Okay, this is just a very short series to introduce you to web development. So if you're really interested in those queries, you can always Google and search more about them. But for now, we're going to go look at something known as the Flask-WTForms. Okay, so if you just go to Google and search for the Flask-WTForms, click on the first link, it will bring you to the official documentation. Okay, so you can click on the installation process. This installation process, you need to install Flask-WTF. So I'm just going to copy this because we're going to be using pip. I'm going to move to my terminal and I'm going to make sure my virtual environment is activated, and I'm simply going to paste and run that command. So this is going to actually install for us the library that you can use to create Flask forms. Okay, so I'm just going to exit this, clear the terminal, and then I'm going back to the documentation, and then I can go back to quick start. So click on the quick start right here, and the quick start and then you need to this is what we need to do. So you need to import all of this, and then from this you can be able to create a simple form and then be able to render it in the UI. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy all of this, and then I'm going to move to our coding area, and then in here I'm going to create another folder in the applications. I'm going to create another file called form.py. So I'm going to call it form.py, and I'm simply going to paste whatever we have copied in here. So now this is going to import for us all the stuff that we need. So I'm going to remove all of this. So and then we start again. So we need to create a class called, we're going to call it user input form, and then we're going to inherit from Flask form, just like that. So now that we have done that, we can go ahead and actually take a look again at the documentation and see what they tell us to do. So now we need to create fields, right? Our form will have fields. So now we can import these fields to be choice of integer, of string, and stuff like that. You can also specify the validator. So the validators will validate against instead of writing your own query JavaScript to validate your forms, this will validate it for you and throw any errors if errors exist. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually create our own. So the first thing you're going to create is you're going to create the field called type, and then it's going to be just it's going to be selection field. So we're going to come up here and you're going to say selection, and then field. This is just selection field, just like that. So we're going to copy this word and we're going to paste it here, selection field, and then you're going to create an instance of it. So you're going to call, the first thing is the label of that field. So we're going to call it type, and then we're going to give it a validator. So we're going to put some validators. So we're going to say validators, and then we're going to specify a list of validators. So now we're going to import, we need the data to be required, right? You have to input the data there. So must be a data, you need to put in data. So data required, and we're going to call in that that function right there. So now for the choice, you need to also specify the choices, right? So you need to specify which choices the user can select. So I'm simply going to tab in here, and I'm going to say choices. So I'm going to say choices is choices. Okay, so equals to, and I'm going to provide in here a list of tuples, or a list of tuples. So the first one is going to be income, because we're going to be the type can be income or expense, right? So income, it's going to the other element in the tuple is going to be also be income. Okay, so and then you can also specify another one here, another tuple. This would be you can guess expense, right? So this would be a string, by the way, expense, and then the value just would be expense. Okay, just like this. So we have these two values right there. So let me just try to do some formatting here so that our code looks a bit cleaner. Okay, so let me just indent that there. Yeah, so we have that right there. Okay, so now that we have that, we can go ahead and actually create the other fields. Okay, so the other fields are going to be very, very similar to this. So we're going to copy this, and I'm simply going to paste it here. And then this is going to be for the category column, right? So this is going to be instead of this this is going to be category, and then the category is just going to also have it's going to be category. This label is going to be category, and then the choices are going to be different. So the choices are going to be also the data will be required for this field. It can be, the choices can be rent, right? And then this must also be rent. So this is also rent. And then should I get the spelling right? And then this one should be salary, and so this one can be salary. So I'm just going to copy this and duplicate this tuple a couple of times. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to comma here and then paste it, comma, paste it. Okay, so now we have investment, so investment, and then this is going to be copy and you're going to paste it here, investment, and then this one is going to be side hustle, and then this also is going to be a side hustle, right? So yeah, so now that we have that there, our category field is done. Let's go ahead and actually create the field for amount, because there is a need to key in the amount. So this is going to be an integer field, so it will be integer field. Okay, and then we need to also import that. So going to be, this value is going to be amount, so the amount, this value is going to be amount, and then we're going to say validate, we're going to space a validator, so validator, and then it is going to be a list of validators. The first one is going to be data required, and we're going to call that function. So that's all we need for that specific field, and make sure I copy this and I import it from here. So I'm going to import it from here, from the wtforms. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to create a submit field. So the submit field is, it will enable users to submit the form just like a button. So we're going to call it submit, and then this is a submit field just like that. So we're going to copy the submit field, copy this, and we're going to move it down here, and then create a submit field here, and then this is going to be, let's call it submit. So submit b equals to this, and you're going to paste in the value here. So the value is simply going to be generate, let's call it generate report, right? So you can call it anything you want, but I'll just call it generate report, and then that's it. We don't need anything else. So that's we have already done creating our form. So now yeah guys, so as we have just finished writing this part up, we are ready to go into the routes, and then we import this and use it. But before we go, I think I have just made an error, and it is supposed to be I made an error with the tuples, so I didn't close them properly. So now that is done, let's go back to our routes, and then if from our routes, you're going to import that. So we're going to say from application, right, application dot forms dot form, we're going to be importing user input form. So we're going to come here into user input form. For this route, you're going to change it to be add. So we're going to call add underscore expenses. Okay, so we're going to call this add also. We're just going to call it add. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to come up here, and you're going to create an instance of that form. So you're going to create form, you're going to call this user instance form, create an instance of that form. That's all you're going to do, and then you're going to pass the form to our HTML. So we're going to say form equals to form, just like that, and we're going to pass in here. So we need to change this. I'm going to change this to be add, so I'm going to also change this to be add, and I'm going to change here. So we need to create another template in here called add. So I'm going to call add.html. So I'm going to call that add.html, and in here I'm going to extend so copy the things from the index. Okay, so I'm going to do the similar thing. So I'm going to say extends, extends, and then this will be layout.html. We're going to be extending the HTML and the layout.html. They're going to have in here code blocks. Okay, so we are going to say block content, just like that, and then in here we're going to go ahead and actually end block. So we're going to say end block. We're going to end the block here. So now that we have the block in here, I'm simply going to paste in a code snippet. Since it's a very long code, it is just boring to watch me type. So I'm just going to paste this code snippet, and then this you can find it on the GitHub link. Okay, which is a HTML that enable us to display our form. Okay, let me just add in something here, ml auto, and then I'm right dash auto. Okay, this is just some bootstrap classes and other stuff. So in here we're just creating some bootstrap classes. Look at, I've repeated the block content, so I need to remove the other ones. So yeah, so what you're simply going to do is that you're going to create in here a div element and with these specifications, and then you're going to have this title, this one here, and you can even get rid of that because we have a legend. So we're going to create a card here, a bootstrap card. If you don't know what bootstrap card is, you can just go and Google bootstrap card, and you can see the cards, how to create a card in bootstrap. So basically we're going to put a form instead of a card. Okay, and then the form is going to have this legend right here, and then you're going to create the div for the first group. So this is going to be for the amount field. Okay, so you're going to say form.amount, and then these names are the ones that we used here. Okay, So that's what the name is that we use. So again, I'm just going to say form.amount.label is going to return to us the label, and the label in this case is just the amount label. And then it's going to give it this it's going to give it this, I move this one here, it's going to give it these specific classes. It's going to give it the class form control dash label. This is just bootstrap classes. So if you're checking if the form has an error, you're going to print out the form, but giving it a class of invalid, meaning that is invalid, meaning that it is round outline. Okay, else, and then we're going to loop through and print out all those errors in case the user mistyped anything. For example, the user typed in a string instead of a number or an integer or a decimal, right? We're going to get these errors. Else, we're just going to print out we're going to display the field. Then you're going to give it a form control sm to be small. Okay, so and then you're going to display the type for the label, which is going to be the options for selecting. This will be the option for selecting, and then it will be for options for selecting the category, and then this will be our submit button right here. For the submit button, give it a btn outline info, and then for the categories, you're giving the label, you're giving the form control dash label, and then the other fields, you're giving the actual field, you're giving a form control sm for both the type and the category options. Okay, now that we have done that, let's go ahead and actually try to see if to go back to our routes, and then our route is going to return this, and then everything is okay. So now let's go back to our app, and then let's see if it's running. So let's start the server again. So the server is up and running. I'm going to come up here, and then I'm going to go to this is add, right? I'm going to go to add where the server shut down. The server is still up, but we can get add. So why it said 404 not found? Okay, I got the spelling wrong, so it's actually add. Run that, we got an error. So cannot use extended for a non-level scope. So let's see where the error is. So extends, so it says that non-level scope. Let's see why that error it is. We are getting that error. So here, yeah, we're getting the error because of this. So let me just go back, and then I refresh my. Okay, so you can see now we have that form right there. So that's how the form looks like. Again, you can find the code for this on the GitHub link, okay, in the link in the description below. So now this is how we can be able to add in our stuff. So if I put this and I submit, I will get method not allowed. The reason why we're getting method not allowed is because we did not allow the method right here. So let me explain to you something about the method and the action. So for the action field, we just leave it blank. If you leave it blank, it will send the request to where the form was created, and you're going to say the method is going to be a post because you are sending something to the server. If you're sending something to the server, you use a post request, right? If you're getting something from the server, you use the get request. In this case, you are submitting the form to the server. That's why using a method equals to post. Okay, and if you're submitting the form, it's all of the time it's going to be post. And then you're saying form.csrf tokens. What this does is that the CRF token, it prevents us against certain cyber attacks, which is called the cross-site request forgery token attack. That is the reason why we also specify this secret key. So if you don't specify this secret key and you're using the CRF token, you're going to get an error. That's the reason why we specify the secret key. So now with this post is going to send the post request, it's going to send it to our routes, and then it's going to hit this route. Now this route doesn't accept any method, that's why it's getting that error of method not allowed. So to do that, to solve that problem with these methods, it's just going to be, the first method is going to be a get method, all of them capital case, and then the second one is going to be a post method. Okay, we are allowing both get and post because whenever the user requires the form, you're going to use the get method to send the form to the user. If the user fills the form, you're going to use the post request to receive the form back. That's why you're using both of them. So now if we just go back to this site and then we refresh, and then we say continue, we're just going to get back to the form where it was. Okay, so now let me just say check that we put in some checks to check the form validity. So if form dot is underscore valid on submit, if the form is valid on submit, it's just simply going to return, let's simply return a simple saying done, just like that. So if the form is valid on submit, you're going to return done. So let me just go back here, then I refresh this, it says continue, and then cannot be reached. So it's the server shut down while we are still doing that. So it is going to refresh this again, continue, and then you get an error, user input form is valid. Okay, let me just go back to documentation. Is validate on submit, or not valid on submit. So is validate let me just come up here and actually copy that code here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to move it in here, and I'm simply going to paste it in here. So paste that in there, validate on submit, and then you're going to do that validation. So I'm going to come back here and then run this again. Yeah, you can see now this field is required. So the reason why we print they became red is because of this part. Whenever we are saying the options, if the form does errors, that's why this is what the error part does. It makes it red and then lists the errors at the bottom. Okay, so yeah, that's all we have. So now let's go back to our routes and then let's write in the logic here. Let's submit a valid form. So let me just input here 444 and then I submit. You just get back done. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually save this to our database and save this returning done. So what you're going to do, we're going to say entry. You're just going to say include income expenses, right? Income expenses, and then you're going to input in your type, which will just be form dot type dot data, and then you're going to go into type and you're going to say amount equals to form dot amount dot data, and you're going to say category equals to form dot category dot data, just like the way we used to do it, we did it back in the terminal. Right now we need to import this right over here. So you copy this and I'm going to come up here. So from application dot models, I'm going to import this right here. So this is going to import this from application.model. This will create the instance, and now we need to add the instance to the DB. So we also need to import DB, right? So from application we're going to import app, we're also going to be importing DB. So the DB it's just similar to what we did in the terminal. So if you haven't watched that tutorial, go back and watch that tutorial on how we be able to do that. So we're going to say session db.session.add. so we're going to add entry, and then you're going to now commit. So db.session.commit. That's all we need to do to save the data to our database. And then let me just indent this. Yeah, so now that we've done that, you're going to return to the user. You're going to return going to flash something to the user. Flash is going to tell a user a message. We're going to say success, right? It's going to say success, successful entry. Let's just call entry, and then you're going to, the class is going to be success. Okay, again, this is going to be bootstrap classes. So we're going to read we can go online and read about bootstrap alert classes, and then you can find more about this specific class. Okay, so we're going to import also this from we're going to say also flash, and you're also going to return redirect, and then you're also going to return URL. Let me just say URL for. So we're going to import these three things, and then after going to flash the message data telling them that their entry was successful, we're going to return redirect. We're redirecting the user to the URL for, and then you're going to return to the index. So we're going to redirect the user back to the home page. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So if the form is valid, you're going to create an instance, enter the data into the database, commit it, and then flash to the user that the data has been successfully entered, and then you're simply going to return the user to the home page. Else, if the form didn't succeed, you're going to drop down here. You're going to if the form didn't succeed, the input didn't succeed, you're going to drop down here and submit the user to the home page, and return the user back to the form. Okay, so now that you have done that, let's go ahead and actually go and see how we can go and input flash this message to the user. So you have to go into let me just close some of this, close this, and I close this, and I'm going to go into layout, and then under layout I'm going to set up something here. So we need to go loop through all the errors, and then messages, and then print out the message to the users. So what you're simply going to do is just above the body, this content here, you're going to go ahead and actually say we're going to create something we're going to call it we're going to say with code block. This is a code block, so we're going to say with messages equals to get underscore flashed underscore messages, and then it's with underscore categories equals to true. So this return to us all the Flask messages. So we need to also import this from Flask. So we need to copy this and then go back to our routes, and then we also need to import it from here, get Flask messages. Okay, copy that and then make sure I paste it here to be spelling right. So now that you have done that, we need to now start looping. So we need to end this block, by the way. So we need to say end with. Okay, so now that we have done that, let's go ahead and check if there's a message. So we're going to say if messages, we're going to loop through and print out the messages. Okay, so we're going to say tap this in, and then you're going to say if messages. Let's also end that if block, and if. Okay, so if messages, we're going to print out the messages. Okay, so now we need to print out the messages. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, you're going to create a for loop here, and you're going to iterate through the messages. So for message comma category, so it's actually category comma message, so it's category comma message in messages. So we also need to end that for loop there. So we need to also end for. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and actually print out those messages. So div, we're going to give it a class of alert, because this is going to be bootstrap alert. So if you don't know about alerts, you can just read about them on bootstrap official website. So you're going to say alert dash, and then in here you need to specify which type of alert it is. So this alert is going to be a category, the category of the alert, right? So category, and then in here you need to specify the message itself. So you need to say message, just like that. So this is going to display all of the messages and alerts that we flash to the user. So now let's go back and see if we can try this out. So make sure my server is running. It stopped running, so I'm going to start the server again, and I'm going back to my the website, and I'm going to refresh this, and I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to, let me see. Okay, so this is 444, and then this one, and I'm going to say submit. Hit this, and then this one returns as user form has no attribute amount. Okay, so we're getting an error called amount. So the error is probably where here when within the route when I was trying to type out amount. So this is actually amount, and then let's try again. So refresh this, just go back, and then I submit this again. Session. Okay, well, I made a lot of typos there. So session. Okay, hopefully I didn't make any other typos, and then I'll try to submit this time. So you see entry successful entry, and then we have that there. So now, yeah, that's how we can be able to now enter data into our database by using the form. So now let's make this one to take us to that field. So to do that, I'm simply going to go back to our layout folder, and then because this is in the navigation bar, I'm going to look for where this is, and this is how you link in Flask. Okay, so you just do say URL _4, and then the function name that you're going to redirect to. So the function name is just going to be index. Sorry, this is going to be add, right? Add _expenses. I believe I called it like that. So let me just check the routes, and then add expense, copy that, make sure I paste it here, and then I paste it here, Control V. So now that's going to redirect us to that, and then this one here is simply going to redirect us to the home page. So this will be URL _4, and then this is going to be the home page, right, which is just going to be index, right? So we save that, and then we can come back here. Let me fix that indentation formatting issue, and then I'm going to come back here, and then I'm going to refresh the site, and I press on this, it takes me to the home page. If I press on this, it takes me to the form. If I press on this, it takes me back to the home page. Now that's perfect. So now what we need to do now is that we need to go and loop through it and create the tables, and then to display the table for the user. That's what we're going to be doing in the next tutorial. So if you find it so helpful, guys, please kindly support my channel and give this a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial. Keep safe.